Hello everybody and welcome back to another weekly recap. In the weekly recap, I like to go over any news related to the old school RuneScape community this week. Now this week we did get another content update, and that was the return of Bounty Hunter. Well, actually most of the updates this week have been PvP focused, which is good. I mean, we haven't had too many PvP changes in quite some time. Actually, we've only had things removed. So I am happy that PvP is getting a bit of love because they are an important part of the community. So today there is a new version of Bounty Hunter that's in the game. On top of that, there was a 1v1 PvP tournament this week, and more information on the future of Deadman Mode, which, just to simplify it here, is going to be coming back very soon with a few changes. I am actually thinking of playing in this one, not to actually PvP, but to try to flip. If I can wake up in time, I'm just going to see how much money I can make, either doing moneymakers or flipping. Maybe I'll swap it. I guess we'll have to check if that's allowed or not. Anyway guys, I think we're getting a bit sidetracked here. As always, I'm going to be going over anything else related to the old school RuneScape community this week, including a recap of this week's Q&A. Thanks for watching guys, and let's get started. Now first up here we have the changes to Bounty Hunter, which by and large are pretty much unchanged since the last poll blog. However, I think there are a few minor differences, so we'll go over it one more time. Now first up here, a big change from the previous version of Bounty Hunter is all players in the wilderness are now skulled automatically, but they're not actually ordinary skulls. They feature different designs that reflect the highest tier of emblem that you and your opponents are currently carrying. So there'll be a visual indicator of how much risk your opponent has, at least based on the emblem. Hotspots are going to remain from the previous version of Bounty Hunter, however now they will be on a 20-minute cycle. There has been one new task added, which involves killing your opponent with a dragon dagger. And finally here, there are some new restrictions on who can actually participate in Bounty Hunter. And I gotta say, I really do support these restrictions, both for Bounty Hunter and for the Grand Exchange, and I might get a separate video on it altogether, but the new account restrictions have made a huge difference, at least temporarily. However, for Bounty Hunter, you now need 20 quest points and 48 hours of playtime. Now you do need both of those, so 48 hours of playtime is quite a lot of time waited around. The whole point of this is obviously to prevent bots and gold farmers exploiting the minigame, and I really do hope it works. And similar to the last time, you will need a combat level of at least 30 in order to play Bounty Hunter. Personally, I really don't see the issue locking even earlier game content behind minor restrictions. Like if a new player is genuinely starting this game, they're not probably going to want to do Bounty Hunter within the first 2 days of playtime. Obviously, it kind of inhibits existing players making new accounts, but really I think the trade-off is much better than slowing down a couple of legitimate players. The old mysterious emblems have been discontinued, and now there's going to be the new antique emblems. The antique emblems will appear as a loot drop from your targets, and there's also a chance for it to upgrade the emblem, which is going to be based on your target's combat level, the highest tier of emblem you're currently carrying, whether the kill took place in a hotspot, or whether you completed a task. That's all going to contribute to giving you a better reward. Now in addition to the emblems, there are going to be a few new rewards that I covered in the last video. Those are again going to be the blighted food items, the blighted manta ray, anglerfish, and karambwan, only usable in the wilderness. Currently there's going to be a blighted super restore potion, which is going to be the exact same, except only usable in the wilderness. There are the blighted spell sacks for ice barrage, bind, snare, entangle, and teleblock, and the promissory notes, which you can exchange for a looting bag and a rune pouch. And last but not least here, the major item, which is the blighted Vesta's longsword. In its current state, it is an untradeable weapon, which requires 75 attack to equip. When you purchase it, it is inactive, and you must use 50 million GP to charge it into a usable version. Once activated, the sword does not have any degradation mechanics, but it can only be used in the cursed lands of the wilderness on a Bounty Hunter world. If you die in PvM with the sword, it will remain with you. However, in PvP, if the sword is not protected, it will be deleted and your PKer will receive 50 million coins. Now this whole update was unpolled, and it seems like their main reason for that was spite voting, which is a consideration. Now the worry here is that it could set a precedent in the future for not polling other things, but I think the fact that a lot of this content is restricted to Bounty Hunter worlds will make this a bit more palatable for PvMers, so I'm willing to accept it. And that's pretty much it for today's game update. Okay, so beyond Bounty Hunter, the next biggest announcement this week is the return of Deadman Mode, which for every player that's not in the beta is going to be starting on May 1st. I gotta say, I'm kind of excited for it back. There were a lot of issues with it, but honestly it was pretty fun to watch, and I never really got a chance to play it that much. So the Deadman worlds are going to be open from Friday, May 1st, and it's going to end on Saturday, May 30th, so it's going to be running for the entire month of May. And there are going to be prizes given out to the top 16 players. First place player is going to get $1,000 and a Razer Ultimate Bundle. Runner-up is going to get $500 and another Razer computer. Third and fourth place are going to get $250 and a Razer Kraken Ultimate Base Station Chroma. And 5th to 16th are going to get 1 year of membership. Okay, so there are quite a few changes from the last version of Deadman Mode. So similar to last time, most of the old school RuneScape map is a dangerous area. However, there are areas guarded by level 1,337 guards. And they will wreck you pretty much immediately. Now, when you first log into the Deadman Mode tournament, you will have 30 minutes of protection time, during which you'll not be able to be attacked by anyone. You're able to protect 2 combat skills and 3 non-combat skills, which means you won't lose any experience if you die. That is, unless you die in a guarded area with a PK skull. Once again, you're able to ensure your hit points by talking to Gellin and Lumbridge, which means your hit points will never fall below the level of your respective insurance fee you've paid, either level 25, 50, or 75. Now, death in Deadman Mode is going to be as follows. If you're killed by another player, you're going to lose the top 10 most valuable stacks of items in your bank, along with all equipped items and items within your inventory, and that will be coming in the form of a bank key once again. If you have a PK skull, you're going to lose XP if you die. However, if you don't have a PK skull, you're not going to lose any experience. If you're killed by an NPC while you have a PK skull, you're going to lose the 10 most valuable stacks of items in your bank, along with the equipped item and item within your inventory, and you're going to lose 50% of the experience in unprotected skills. But if you don't have a PK skull, it's going to be like any other death in old school RuneScape. You won't lose experience, and the only items you'll keep are the 3 most valuable that are equipped in your inventory. So it's kind of interesting. They're making it a lot safer for players who don't want to PK that much, which I guess is important, otherwise not as many people are going to play. Now these are going to be the experience rates. You're going to get 10 times experience for both combat and non-combat skills when you're in a safe area. If you're in a dangerous area, you're going to get 10 times for non-combat skills and 15 times for combat skills. And another notable thing here is you'll get a much higher experience rate boost for when you're regaining experience that you lost by dying. You're going to get a 50 times XP multiplier if you're getting back experience that you've lost. Now there are a ton of changes regarding NPC loot and the mechanics behind sculling. I'm not going to go over all of that because it's a pretty lengthy read, but I'm going to go over some of the changes this Deadman Mode because that is important. Now most of these design choices are to help speed up the game. So for example, the following quests will be auto-completed when you first log into Deadman Mode. You're going to get Cook's Assistant, Priest in Peril, Ernest the Chicken, Restless Ghost, Animal Magnetism, The Grand Tree, Tree Gnome's Village, Monkey Madness, Dragon Slayer, Goblin Diplomacy, Rune Mysteries, Lost Tribe, Death Plateau, Shield of Arav, Lost City, Merlin's Crystal, Druidic Ritual, Hero's Quest, and Recipe for Disaster Part 1. So that's a lot of quests that are auto-completed, which I mean is probably nice for people who have done that like 20 times now. Notably, it's also possible to purchase items from the Recipe for Disaster chest without completing the subquests, which are normally required. Alzea House Favor is set to 100%, and the Architectural Alliance quest is also done. Fishing spots are going to yield 3 times the amount of fish resources. Everyone is going to start with the Bigger and Badder Slayer perk unlocked, and there's a few other minor changes. Now in this Deadman Mode, a few pieces of content are now going to be restricted. Those are Zulrah, the Wilderness Altar, and Lava Dragons are inaccessible. You won't be able to participate in that content at all. However, carrying forward from previous Deadman modes, you're also not going to be able to do the Duel Arena, Castle Wars, Trouble Brewing, like who would actually do that, Fight Pits, Rat Pits, Pest Control, and Last Man Standing. Now, a few major changes that have changed since the last seasonal. Right now, there's going to be no experience cap. If you remember in previous ones, there would be XP caps per day. The Chambers of Zarek and the Theater of Blood will not be restricted. Honestly, it's just a guinea pig test. They're going to see how this works for this Deadman Mode metagame. And here it is. Notably, we are not going to be enforcing rules against swapping or muling. In the past, the rules were rather vague, and they were often prone to misinterpretation. So yeah, it looks like we can actually swap legally without any repercussions. So yeah, I think I might actually go ahead and play it. There you go. It's already working, guys. I'm actually kind of stoked about that. I've never PvP'd in my life, but I know how to make money, and I know the swap rates can be extremely high right away, so I think that's going to make for a pretty fun video. Okay, well that is pretty much it for all of the PvP news this week. So as someone who doesn't PvP that much, let me know what you think about the changes down below. I'm always interested to see what you guys think about it, but let's move on. And now I'm just going to do a quick recap of this week's Q&A. Now recently, the Q&As have been kind of longer form discussions, which I really like, but kind of makes a recap a bit shorter. So anyway, first up here, do we have any info for when the Sins of the Father is going to be released? They don't want to give an exact date, but I think early summer. A while ago, Prifdinus was said to have an achievement diary, but that got scrapped. Are you planning on adding one in the future? Not right now. For one, they're not sure if it actually warrants a diary, but also it has a few issues with Prifdinus being locked behind very high requirements to begin with. So how would you have an easy diary when all of the worthy skill requirements to access it are in the 70s. In regards to the upcoming death mechanics, will ornament kits and stuff like that be protected on death? Well, the expectation is right now that existing interactions like that will remain the same. Would we be able to see some quality of life changes to the Grand Exchange interface? For example, a pause offer button or a countdown timer for buy-in limits? Well, unfortunately, that is a significant amount of engine work, but they couldn't actually put an actual pause button in. Now for the buy-in limits, that would be more doable, but would still be a lot of engine work. However, to kind of mitigate the problem, they could change around existing buy-in limits to make them more reasonable. And finally here, could the Inquisitor's Maze also be part of the set bonus? No, we're not going to make any changes to the Inquisitor's set. Let's just leave it alone for a bit. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for this week's update. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I always appreciate it if you would leave it a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.